Welcome to The Discourse, the podcast that has hot food takes,
cool food people,
and never a lukewarm moment.
If you're new here, we're a podcast where we dish and debate on the latest food trends and fads. I'm Chef Renee. I help direct a culinary R&D test kitchen, and I think the potato skin is the best part of the potato.
Agreed.
I'm Cali, trends expert, nutritionist, and I think that frozen hash browns or QSR hash browns are far superior to fresh hash browns.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
And my name is Chef Cam. I manage a team of R&D chefs, and baked potatoes don't get the love that they deserve.
Ooh,
I disagree with that.
I don't know. I lived off that Wendy's baked potato for years when I was a vevegetarian. So.
I didn't realize that they had baked potatoes, and then I was like, when did this launch?
Like
and it was like 1983. I was like, my bad.
It's kind of like the sleeper item that they have on their menu.
I agree. You want a full meal? Is that baked potato and chili? You got like protein, you got your carbs. You got protein, you got your carbs.
They're ahead of it. Okay, so obviously today we're talking about potatoes. Very exciting. What's not to love? But we're just going to get into it with our Guess That Operator. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So this news really tracks with everything we've discussed about customizability to date. But just recently, this operator announced that they are trialing a new range of freshly made, hot, fluffy jacket potatoes in select restaurants across the UK. If you don't know what jacket potatoes are, they've recently undergone a renaissance and have found fame on social media with TikTok accounts like Spud Bros gaining millions of followers. They are really just the British version of what we call a loaded baked potato, but they're classically topped with and will be offered with British staples like cheese and Heinz beans or tuna mayo. Not for me. So at this operator that does focus on sandwiches, hint, hint, any sandwich can now be turned into a spud, and guests can use their favorite filling to create their own jacket potato. They'll be freshly made in store each day and will be offered at 170 locations through mid-April.
Okay, 170 locations, store test in the UK. So it has to have a big UK footprint. Made in-house, baked in-house. Potatoes are prepared in-house.
It says freshly made in store each day.
Wow.
Okay, so they need to have some kind of like commercial cooking oven, right? Couldn't be, because at first I was like Subway. But I don't know if you can actually cook an entire baked potato in a Turbo Chef.
I do like how you're analyzing this.
Thank you.
Because I didn't give you much of a hint except for the sandwich.
Yeah.
Do they have
I
a
guess
large...
think just like big sandwich chain.
I mean, what is there? Like, there's Jimmy John's. That's...
Right, but they
like-
just launched Toasted Sub. So I feel like that is like, they wouldn't be doing two things at once.
Too innovative for that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know.
Wait.
I feel like they would be launching like Toasted Subs everywhere, not like, I like that they call them jacket baked potatoes.
I had this conversation with a friend where I was like, I don't think there's a difference between a jacket potato and a loaded baked potato. And my friend disagreed. And I was like, I think it's just the British name for it.
Yeah. Is it... I don't know. My mind goes to Potbelly. Is it Potbelly?
No.
They
This
don't have
isn't...
No.
Okay, should I just tell you guys?
No, let me
No,
guess
I
one
keep
more
guessing.
time. Give
This
it
is
a
an
little hint.
operator that I don't know if this will help you, but I love this operator, and sometimes that's not always the most popular opinion.
Is it Burger
but
King?
I will stand on this hill. No.
This is hard.
This is hard. I'm
Is
trying
this
to think
like is this kind of like a note, like, oh, I should have gotten it, like, type of answer?
Is it Subway?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Subway's giving the people jacket potatoes.
pop off Subway.
Interesting.
Pop off Subway. Well, yeah, I mean, if you find yourself in the UK anytime soon, head to Subway. First stop.
Let's go.
Jacket potato. Okay. So I'm really hoping that you guys haven't heard this one, but in big news, this operator recently changed the recipe of their very famous French fries, which for decades have been an iconic part of this operator experience, to include a coating of pea starch, which is a white gluten-free neutral flavored powder made from yellow peas, in the hopes of helping them to stay crispier for longer. It's also commonly used for glass noodles, gummies, soups, and some baked goods. But as any regular fast food fan knows, when something as familiar as a signature item changes, it doesn't go unnoticed. So since this change, some consumers have expressed concerns about the impact on this iconic fries taste, but also some allergy concerns, considering a lot of people with peanut allergies are also sometimes allergic to pea starch. And some say that they still love them just the same. So who is it?
Arby's?
No. I'm glad you haven't heard this.
Signature. So you said the very signature.
Very signature French fry.
It's not Checkers.
No.
Wendy's?
Is it?
No.
No, Wendy's changes their fries every 10 years.
Is it Chick-fil-A?
It is.
Oh,
Chick-fil-A just changed their French fry recipe.
Interesting.
Hot off the press.
Don't think that that's like wrong of them, because that's my problem with waffle fries, is that they get too soggy too quickly. That is why they are not I understand the appeal of a waffle fry.
Well, that was the exact concern. That's why they changed them. But I kind of like a soggy fry.
See, now I have to.
Right,
So
now we're back to this again, guys. They're soggy fries.
They're delicious.
When did they implement this change?
Like 2 months ago, I want to say.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess I have to go. I haven't had Chick-fil-A in a bit, so this might actually be my reason to go and actually taste these French fries.
Yeah, when I saw this, I was like, damn, we should have all been trying these on site right now.
I wonder if it is because of the uptick in delivery as a platform for them.
I think that's part of it. They really, they were getting concerns about them being soggy. And obviously, we know delivery is always increasing.
Yeah.
But that is it for news. So to get into our bread service, to set our scene for the rest of this conversation, what is the high level thought on potatoes today? So potatoes, as we know, are on the heavy majority, or 83% of menus. But they do historically have lower prices and have some negative perceptions of kind of being a generic filler. And they are facing a lot of challenges. So they are commonly taken for granted or undervalued by operators because they are seen as that plentiful or value-driven commodity side, which means that a lot of consumers and operators kind of don't think so much about letting them go to waste. But also, even though being a value-driven side is a benefit, it is kind of this double-edged sword, because some chefs are then hesitant to innovate around them because they fear that it'll be hard to sell premium offerings to consumers that use just potatoes. But because they're so familiar, which kind of places anything new and exciting in potatoes in our like nostalgia macro trend bucket, we are still seeing a lot of innovation in potatoes. And so today we're kind of talking through some different trends like plussed up potato menu items using like premium ingredients to make it more elevated. We're also circling back to my call out of texture trends, because I would argue that potato dishes, more so than other foods, are differentiated and craved more so based on texture than flavor.
Totally.
Even though it's weird how different formats of potatoes do kind of taste different sometimes. We're like, it's still a potato. And then also we have to call out the evolution of potatoes in kind of the lens of our health trends, because they do kind of suffer from negative perceptions among a lot of consumers who regularly lump them in with being kind of a carb to avoid, or following diets that shun potatoes, even though they're not actually unhealthy. But in food service, a lot of the preparations we see can contribute to that perception of it being unhealthy. So that is our lay of the land. I think we should start by talking about our plussed up potatoes. So like new flavors and formats, and what have you guys seen on menus recently that has piqued your interest? Or I was even thinking, like, when I try something that completely reintroduces me to something that I know and love, like that's always a really exciting moment. So have you seen anything like that recently that's used potatoes?
So this isn't food service, but I did see that the first like CPG shelf-stable latke was launched earlier this year.
That's cool.
That's on my
they're
alley.
called Little Latkes. It's a potato crisp latke. I think it's like somewhere in between a Pringle and a potato pancake, because they're pretty thin. And so, you know, a Pringle is not technically a chip because they are like, it's like mashed potatoes that are then like baked very, very thin, and that's why they're called a crisp instead of a chip. So that has like a technical FDA definition here. It was like a big thing. Like Pringles got sued like a few like decades ago.
Did they?
Yeah, about this. So they had to change the name of it. I understand it on both ends. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. I will be looking for them and trying to purchase. I feel like, Callie, you're going to be able to find them really easily in New York at all.
I mean,
those,
yeah,
like,
latkes are
grocery stores.
one of the superior Jewish foods that we do look forward to every year for Hanukkah. But my mom makes the best latkes, hands down, for sure.
Love it.
Love a latke.
And then the other one that I think is kind of interesting is the Arby's potato cake.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yes,
which is a hash brown made of shredded potato, which is the preferred form for hash browns, in my opinion. I just think it's interesting.
As opposed to?
Like formed and fried.
Okay.
Or like home fry style hash browns.
Okay.
I feel like hash browns is like the one thing that we really don't have like a super standard.
Yeah, because it could mean anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be. It just means that like these are
vary
potatoes
so much,
and they are golden and it is breakfast.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, it's like
here
you go to like a diner and it's like, oh, okay, cool, they have hash browns, but it's like, am I getting diced? Am I getting shredded? It's like you never know. It's like a nice surprise. I'm still getting potatoes regardless, so I'm happy.
It's the Schrodinger's hash brown box.
the way that I lived off of Dunkin' Donuts hash browns through college is there was a lot of hash brown eating going on.
Love it.
Sure.
I love it. I just think it's interesting that they called it something that it feels so unique to them, but then it is prepared the way that it's called is not necessarily something that I would be like, I want to try that, but knowing what it is, it makes me want to be like, I want to try that. And I think it's interesting that they're calling it something so unique, considering that Arby's already does curly fries. And they're one of the few operators out there who does curly fries, and they do curly fries so very well.
I do love a curly fry. I love the like
fries.
competition of like which is the longest curly fry, you know? Like hold it up.
Yes.
What about you, Cam?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've been on like an Indian food kick as of recent, and I think because it's so like inherent, like a lot of the cuisine leans a little bit more vegetarian. There's like so many like unique ways that like potatoes are like used in dishes, and just like it just showing how like different seasonings, different ways you can kind of just fold it into curries to kind of just make the food a little bit more substantial, more filling. Just exploring all of that has been really cool for me as a chef, because like I didn't really grow up eating Indian food. So like being older now, having my own income, I can do whatever I want with my adult money.
I could do whatever I want. I'm gonna put potatoes in it.
Well, and I also love that. I feel like growing up, there was a lot of like all you can eat Indian buffets. And now, at least in New York, like we've seen so many like more elevated Indian restaurants opening that are really getting very playful with a lot of those traditional Indian flavors. Like I don't know, I love anything aloo gobi. I know that that's like heavily potato, but also Renee, I know you were saying earlier, drown you in ricotta or bury you in ricotta cheese. I would say bury me in curry for sure.
if we're getting buried in food.
We're getting buried in food, yeah.
What about those? I think that this is interesting because you called out the health piece. It's like 10 years ago, I guess, maybe more like 2017, Whole30 was like everywhere. I mean, it really started like when I was in college, we started to see it everywhere, and it was like, are you doing Whole30? Where in Whole30 are you? And I think that helped shift consumer perceptions on like health and potatoes, because you can eat potatoes on like Whole30. They're one of the few carbs that are like a very carb focused thing. Anyway, all is to say that the like carb renaissance that people are experiencing right now, where I think carbs are getting less demonized, I think part of it comes from everyone and their like sister making a sourdough loaf over COVID and like getting rid of gluten-free sentiment. But the Starbucks potato bites, so those egg bites that are already high in protein, the addition of the potato in there to make more of a complete breakfast, right? Because you need carbs, and people really understanding that carbs are what give you energy, and that like that is like the perfect combo in the morning. I've tried them. I really like them. I think that they could go a little bit longer in the Turbo Chef, but I'm also like a hardcore crispy girl.
I want to like piggyback off of like the health halo aspect of potatoes. So like during COVID, I went through like a huge like weight loss journey. And as I was kind of looking at recipes, I'd be like, obviously like I had the misconception about potatoes, but as I looked into it a little bit more and I was looking for like the starch that I could add to my meals, I switched like just eating rice. I'm like, let me just switch to potatoes. Like, let's see what happens. I was roasting them. I was doing all that stuff. And I just like inherently was just fuller longer. So like when I did a little bit of research, and I'm looking at some notes here, like the satiety of potatoes is significantly higher than rice. And so you do feel fuller longer. And as our resident gym bro on the podcast here, there is a significant amount of people within like the bodybuilding space that will actually use potatoes when they are in their kind of like cutting phase, when they're trying to lose weight, because it does keep them fuller longer, and that kind of helps them achieve like their kind of weight loss goals for competitions, what have you. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I can piggyback off of that. I mean, from the nutrition angle, what you're saying about satiety and like being fuller longer, like potatoes are such a good source of complex carbohydrates. So like you have the simple sugars that are, you know, getting you immediate energy, but then it does kind of digest over time, which is like why it's called complex. But just in general, like I remember being in college and the debunking of the fact that people commonly think that potatoes are unhealthy, to realize that that's actually really not the case. And it's more so tied again to how we regularly in food service see it being deep fried in oil and covered in so much salt. Like that blew my mind and definitely made me as a consumer take a new look at potatoes. I eat plenty of potatoes and I love them, but it's interesting that we see now, like through food service, that older generations are eating more potatoes than younger generations, because I think that there is still a gap to be filled in terms of the consumer education for younger consumers and bypassing that negative perception. And so, I don't know. I mean, I know that some operators are kind of trying to kickstart that. Like we just saw Sweet Green launch French fries, which is like, what? A salad place, French fries? Like make it make sense. Although, you know, us girlies do love the Caesar salad.
Caesar salad and French fry, baby. Caesar salad, French fry martini. Catch me at the airport bar after a presentation. I am posted there.
No, I mean, you do need like that little indulgent thing, but they're, you know, they're really leveraging the fact that they are air frying their French fries in avocado oil. It's a healthier French fry.
What's crazy is that they're calling a Turbo Chef an air fryer.
Yeah.
And so it's this home technology that we all have access to that's totally changed the way people eat fried food. And so they're just reheating these, like they're already coming in, like, I don't know, maybe they're not, maybe they're making them in-house. But either way, they're using, are they making them from scratch?
I believe they are, yeah. They're like coating
that's awesome.
Potatoes,
Those ripple cut fries.
Amazing. So with that in mind, like this is exactly how you're making them at home. And that like kind of like new aged healthy fried food renaissance we've seen at like the home cooking level, I think is finally like really hitting operators, and I'm so excited for that, because if there's one other hill that I will die on, it is that an air fryer is like the best piece of equipment you can buy for your kitchen.
I couldn't agree more. I've actually been meaning to get myself an air fryer for so long, but I do think that what you're saying totally rings true. I think like the introduction of the air fryer into the home kitchen has completely changed people's minds about frying in general, because we think frying, we think unhealthy, like that's it. And now I think part of getting to eat more potatoes is like, okay, well, it's maybe not the ingredient, it's maybe the other parts of it.
Yeah, the preparation of it all.
Yeah.
But I think another thing that we are seeing on menus in terms of this health and wellness aspect, and maybe not so much on like QSR fast casual menus, but in other like casual dining or even fine dining, like we're seeing operators really leverage different varieties of potatoes, or like leaning into seasonality of potatoes, because it is kind of communicating that like elevated or differentiated kind of call out on the menu, which we know appeals to consumers. But we're seeing like fingerling potatoes and Yukon Gold potatoes and
this is like
potatoes.
My time to shine.
Do it.
I spent so much time in my history in agriculture.
Yeah, tell us. Please.
So when I started really like, when I entered food trends, right? Like I'd worked at restaurants. But when I started growing food and crop planning, there's like a whole other level of how agriculture and small vendors influence like the eating habits of people. Kale is a great example of this. We started to sell, like had more interest in kale. And so we started to increase the amount of kale that we were growing. The increase of supply like met the curiosity demand, and then you like hook people on, then you see it blow up within the operator space, and then all of a sudden half of the greens that you're growing are kale. We saw a very similar thing with collards right before, or mustard greens right before COVID hit, where people were like interested in those kind of differentiated greens. But we saw it in potatoes like the clearest. There's this one variety of fingerling potato called Magic Molly that is like this,
tell me everything.
This gorgeous purple color inside. Ooh. And so some foods that you get that are purple, well, the purple cooks out of them. So like asparagus are a great example of that. Green beans are a great example of that. So once you cook them, they turn green or like they're not that kind of vibrant purple. But Magic Molly potatoes maintain their beautiful marbling inside. And they had been developed by a
so they're Instagrammable
for years and years.
Instagrammable
yes,
potatoes.
Exactly. That is exactly where I'm
Get
getting.
me an Instagrammable potato stat.
And then we see that at places like Sweet Green getting picked up, because Sweet Green, when they originally launched, was buying from small producers. So when I was growing food in Chicago, we were selling it to Sweet Greens, because there were there was only one Sweet Green location in the city. So they had an amazing sourcing team. They were great to work with. And so we were able to see kind of that influence overall. And so then you're seeing that potato at your Sweet Greens. Then you're going to your farmer's market and you want it. And then you're going to your grocery store. And when your grocery store starts to sell it more often, then you know it's
then it's normal.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when you see it hit QSR or kind of these operators with like an even bigger footprint.
Yeah. Well, I do think that obviously we haven't seen kind of some of our bigger players in QSR and fast casual hop on we're air frying our French fries train yet. Like, I think for right now, what we are seeing is kind of that transition. We're seeing a lot of operators move away from seed oils. So like that part that is kind of thought of as being unhealthier, like I think we are slowly but surely, I mean, naturally with our overarching health and wellness trends. But I think in terms of potatoes and kind of things that are fried in general, like we might see more of that in the future, which would be cool.
I think one of the best things in life is potatoes fried in tallow. I think that's like a top tier life experience that like you really can't match elsewhere. And I think that we saw like a dip in French fry quality for a few years as we transitioned to seed oils and then we transitioned back to tallow.
Well, so I was just going to ask you, I mean, both of you as chefs and the experts in all of the science behind cooking, do you find that frying in different kinds of oils really like heavily affects a potato?
Yeah, I mean, like from smoke point to, and even I think like the big one is definitely like flavor. That is like the inherent different, whether it's beef tallow, duck fat being like a huge thing. If you guys remember, if you remember hot Doug's way back when.
Oh yeah,
my dad was obsessed. Just
duck
to
fat
give you
potatoes are definitely trending.
His background on his phone is the last meal he had at hot Doug's, and it's like
he's like, I don't care about my children.
He's like,
certainly not my adult children getting married. Like, hot dog, love you.
Yeah,
that's
baby girl.
Amazing.
Yeah, he misses them dearly, but it definitely like is like a flavor thing. Obviously, like cost aside, yes, like animal fats are definitely going to be a little bit more expensive, but just from a flavor standpoint, it's pretty hard to beat a beef tallow French fry or a duck fat fry, like, or any, just, it doesn't even have to be a French fry, hash browns, like anything like that. Anything cooked in animal fat is delicious.
Yeah. We have a saying in the kitchen and it's flavor is spelled F-A-T. And so,
I mean, true though,
right?
True.
And so like what's great about animal fat is that it's already flavored. And like it does so much heavy lifting work for the back of house team. Callie, I think you said it well in the beginning when you were like, it's so funny that something that is as humble as a potato can get cooked so many different ways and taste totally different every single time, even though
it's kind of wild if you really think about it.
Potato, right? I think it's cool. I think there are very few foods out there that are like that.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I said it first, but but no, I mean, if we're talking frying and like, I do want to talk about some of these texture trends because it really changes the same ingredient into so many different things that we enjoy at so many different day parts, whether it's breakfast or snacking or sides or dinner. Like I mean, I've definitely been fed a million videos on TikTok of all of the potato trends, like the Parmesan crusted potatoes or like the accordion potatoes. Like I would love to see more of that on menus. Have you guys seen any of those interesting, like very unique textural trends?
What is interesting about TikTok is potatoes fondant, which is like you take your potato.
Potatoes,
yeah. That's
wait, you just glossed over that. You do need to explain.
You cut your potatoes, you like peel them, you cut them into like cylinders that are about 1.5 inches high by 1.5 inches wide.
Okay.
And then you essentially like braise them in chicken stock and butter. And then you finish them, and so you cook off all that liquid, and then you finish them in the pan, so that both sides get crispy with more oil and herbs in there.
Oh my god!
And so it's like that cooking technique. I think we're seeing get applied to potatoes like across the board, and people just don't know what the technical piece behind it is. That's always my first thought when it comes to like interesting and new and exciting textures with potatoes is like we can take something that is very fine dining and very fine dining inspired, especially because you're taking two different cooking methods for the same piece. And I think that is like inherent. That's like a big step in between fine dining and like commercial operator dining. And so I think that like by combining those two steps, we're seeing like way more kind of innovation in terms of that like texture space overall.
I do also think like it is interesting. Of course, we're seeing the growth of different flavors and like intense flavor is actually the number one growing need state for consumers in the potato category right now, which I thought was interesting. And like, we obviously see a lot of innovation in all categories being flavor driven, but we are seeing new menu items that are entirely focused on the play on texture. So like KFC just launched their mashed potato poppers, which are giving you that like bite of soft, amazing mashed potato, but then it's like crunchy on the outside. And I was really excited to see them drop that because there's a place in my hometown called Garden Catering that people would go so far out of their way because they made things that were called cones that were the exact same thing. It was like a mini fried bite of mashed potato. And it's just absolutely tasty. But
I think that like for QSR, like quick service restaurants and fast casual specifically, like picnic sticks, those like kind of like the chips,
like potato sticks.
Yeah, potato sticks. Yeah, which
oh my God,
can of potato
so nostalgic
sticks is only 1,400 calories.
Only
for an entire can.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. Come on, guys, that's not bad. That was like our favorite kitchen fact for like a whole month last year.
That's amazing.
I think that those are so underutilized as a way to get like a good texture, be it including them in breading, like a breading system or any kind of dehydrated potato in a breading system, to a topper on a salad or a sandwich. I think that there is like a great opportunity space to use potatoes, like potato chips as texture, because it also calls out that kind of nostalgic piece, right? You know, I think we've all had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with potato chips on it.
Oh, delicious.
I know, it sounds so good right now.
It's interesting that you brought up like the potato chips on the sandwich, because then that just immediately made me think of the hash brown and like the breakfast sandwich thing that we've started to see. Like now it's kind of just like a little menu hack, whether you're going to like any kind of QSR, like you get the hash brown on the side, you put it in your breakfast sandwich, and it just like completely elevates it.
Well, and separate from breakfast, I mean, I think also generally like we are seeing potatoes being used more as that ingredient as opposed to just like the side as it is on its own. But if we're talking sandwiches, I did recently see that I think it was McDonald's, like they were pushing something about using their hash browns as the carrier for an ice cream sandwich. No, listen.
Look, years ago, by Global Entry interview for like TSA pre and Global Entry. I go to the old post office, you know. They take the photo. They take a photo for your Global Entry in the office. It's so dumb. There's like a fire extinguisher behind it on my little card. Anyway, they go through the questions. The guy goes like, and I'm there with a friend. She's doing her interview. I'm doing my interview. And he's like, what do you do for work? And so I'm like, I'm a research and development chef. That always begs the question of like, what does that mean? And then we help connect manufacturers with different chain operators and innovate on menus. And then this man went on his soapbox about how quick service restaurants need to be using hash browns as the bun for the next 10 minutes. And that was the entirety of the interview. Like, no, like,
I mean, avocado toast on a hash brown did not pop off for no reason. There's a reason that they were flying off the shelves at Trader Joe's.
And so my friend is out of her interview. She's there for like 10 more minutes. I come out and she's like, what took so long? And I was like, girl, like, we
gotta get hash browns.
We gotta get hash browns on the menu somewhere.
Hash browns as bread. Do it.
No, but we've seen more potatoes being used as carriers and like as avocado toast, instead of bread, or like even I think they had like some sort of breakfast sandwich, like a cheddar potato bagel was at like one of the coffee chains. It was Big B Coffee. They had like potato bagel breakfast sandwich. I'm about it. Always.
I'm so hungry, guys. I want a panini, but it's potato skins as the
ingredient,
like a clamshell, but it's potato skins on the outside, so it all holds it in as like a,
Well,
a
also,
little bite.
I mean, I always think about, like, I ate so many breakfast tacos down in Texas for 4 years. Like, please, any time of day. I went through such a phase of making them for dinner, like, every night.
Yes.
But potato, egg, and cheese, like, you can't go wrong. Obviously, we've seen the rise of California burritos, like sticking French fries in burritos. Like, give me that every time.
Which is so funny that that's like a California style burrito, because doubling down on the carbs in a burrito does not feel like very California cuisine. You know what I mean?
Not very fresh and healthy.
Right. Like, I understand why and how we got there, but like in general, like it just does not feel like it started in Southern California.
Yeah. Well, and the introduction for me, like years ago, of putting fries in a sandwich or a burrito was actually like when I would get chicken shawarma, like in Israel, they always give you the option to stick fries in there, and they're always, it just makes it so much better. It's
That's
like, why have it on the side?
If you get a hot dog here, that's
Hot
what
dog.
they do with the fries. A Chicago style dog comes with the fries on top.
Oh my God, yum.
You save on packaging too. You don't need to have a fry cup or anything.
There you go.
Yeah.
Renee, I think it's time for you to hit us with this hot take.
Please.
This has been much anticipated. I'm so beyond ready to hear this.
So this is
Drum roll.
something I've been on for like the last 15 years.
Okay.
For those of you who know me personally, this will come as no surprise.
I feel like I need to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I think that smiley fries are one of the worst inventions in all of potato history. I think the texture is bad. It's bad, okay? It's bad. The smile haunts me. Like, why is it looking like that? You know?
I don't know why the smile reference reminds me of those Zoopal plates for little kids.
The soup.
Oh my God, the Zoom smile, the two smiles. Like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not enough surface area.
Okay.
So it's not getting like it could be.
What if they made them like smiley
That's not-
crinkle cut?
Okay, we're not there yet.
Okay, we're not
Come
there
on,
yet.
come on. Dial it back.
Keep going.
They are too greasy too easily. Grease can get stuck in those little eye holes and that mouth hole.
I'm like looking at a picture of them right now. I just see a bunch of smiley faces just looking at me.
This is so okay. Is there? Yeah, we're still going.
It's a limited nostalgia appeal because
What do you mean?
like they are nostalgic like for the adult context, and this kind of goes back to that first episode that we had where we talked about like the kidification or just nostalgia in general. These ones are one where like, yes, I understand why they are at schools. I understand that they have a place. That place is nowhere near my adult mouth and body, okay? Like,
well, maybe the biggest problem here is that it is that mashed potato-y consistency. I know you just spat out like 8 different reasons why you hate them.
Do you like
But like, what if
croquettes?
we got like a smiley face cutout
so
for
I
a
like
potato?
croquettes because croquettes can be filled with something else too.
Yeah.
Part of my problem, right? So like the KFC mashed potato poppers. That's a great example of a platform that could be expanded upon. They could put shredded chicken in there. It could be amazing. They could put like a gravy pocket in there. That would be really cool. However, the smile-faced mashed potato has, you can't fit anything in there. You can hardly even fit in like good, like there isn't even enough mashed potato.
Yeah. So you don't need. So basically, what I'm hearing is that like you don't need the smile at all.
No, I'm like, it's why.
Yeah.
What? Name one other food that is an
Smiling back.
Was this the kind
that
of
is looking back at you? Yeah.
Goldfish, the snack that smiles back.
Okay, but it's not like a complete plate. Like, you know, we're at an elementary school. K-12 has rules about what you can serve.
Yeah.
And them goldfish aren't a complete carbohydrate.
So I do need to
I don't
ask
know
for
goldfish.
context
I do
here,
like
just like
goldfish, yes.
really quickly. Was this the kind of thing where when you first saw smiley face French fries, you were like, that is blasphemous?
So-
Simply no? Or did you have some sort of like traumatic experience with this smiley face.
I mean,
French
every
fry.
time I've eaten
like you
one,
said,
it's been traumatic
you. Like,
because
have
they
you
are
had
not
nightmares
good.
about
They are
these?
like not okay.
So in all of the years of you hating these smiley face potatoes, have you thought, I would imagine, about how you would do it differently?
Yeah. Do you go to the recipe lab?
Recipe lab.
we can, but there is one more piece here that
She's
I do
still
feel like
going,
is
Cam.
important. It is
Don't cut her
important
off.
context, okay? Is that like part of the reason that I don't like them is because the eyes feel soulless. And
That's
like
fair.
That's what I'm saying. If you had different emoji potatoes, then
I
you'd have
think
different faces. But I'm so curious. You must have spent time thinking about
Yeah.
how
So-
you're going to do it differently.
Let's go to the recipe lab.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's head to the recipe lab. I feel like we need like a theme
A jingle.
song.
And we're here. All right, let's do it.
Okay. So I think that the shape could be better. One, I don't want a face. I don't want a face. I don't want a face. I
That's
don't.
fair.
Period. Especially for children. I don't know. That like hits a little bit like make your
It's giving
pancakes into a
creepy
smile.
clown.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. I'm tracking.
I do think that fried mashed potatoes can be good. I think that they should be flavored. I think that there needs to be some kind of flavor element to them. Thoughts?
Okay, so I already I'm happy that
Cam's brain
you're
is working.
Yeah, because it's like as
We're about to
she
solve
was on
this
her
15-year-long problem.
as she was on her soapbox, I was thinking like, okay, we could definitely this isn't. I don't think it's too crazy because in my mind, I was also thinking like, yeah, we can definitely flavor the mashed potatoes. One,
Okay.
you could make them super indulgent, super buttery, herbs, garlic, whatever you want, and I would make mashed potatoes in any way that we want to. We could do internationally inspired ones, if we wanted to do
algo.
yeah, that. We could even we were talking about Indian food earlier. What happens if we did the flavor of the a samosa?
Ooh, I love a samosa.
Make that as the mash, and then what I would do is I would spread it on a sheet tray, freeze it, cut it into shapes. If we wanted to play off of nostalgia, we can do circles, stars, what have you. And then for the texture component, to play off of Japanese style croquettes, panko bread them.
Ooh.
Yeah, we can panko bread them, or potatoception. We can coat them in potato chips.
Oh,
Yes.
I like that.
I like the star. I think a star is a good shape. I think that there is some. I think that smile potatoes are on to something.
Yeah.
However, why aren't we
just missed
innovating?
the
Why
mark.
aren't we innovating on them more? I understand that they're for children.
Well,
Yeah.
also,
However, adults eat potatoes too.
they do. Well, also touching on the children aspect, I like everything that you're saying, Cam. And also, let's tie in our evolution to make potatoes healthy. If you are leaning into that samosa flavoring, a good vegetarian samosa is potato, but also peas and carrots, and
Yeah.
so we can have a veggie packed. Well, not packed, but with the veggie element in there, definitely kind of leans healthier. So I'm about this. I love a samosa, and I love all those curry flavors.
Yeah.
What do we dip it in?
It could be anything. Like
a
Cali Ranch.
A tandoori ranch.
I'm not even going to keep going on this.
Or
People are going to get sick of hearing about it.
like some kind of ketchup chutney, because I always want to dip a fry. I'm probably not going to eat fries if I can't dip them.
That's so fair.
know.
Except don't put my sauce on top of my fries, because then I can't eat them with my hands, and then
Exactly.
not eating with a utensil. So what's going on?
Right.
But I do think if we're doing Indian, it does need to be chutney-esque.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, just chutney, if we actually wanted to keep it in the vein of that dish, the samosa, it could either be the green chutney or the sweeter one. I'm blanking on it. It could be one of those.
The tamarind chutney.
Yeah, the tamarind one. Yeah. I think that would be super
I'm
cool.
always voting sweet chutney for sure.
Yeah, or just serve it with both. ¿Por qué no los dos?
¿Por qué no los dos? That's what it is.
Totally.
Por favor.
Yes.
Okay, wait. So recap it for us.
Okay, so we're definitely going to do a samosa kind of mash. It's going to be spread on a sheet tray, frozen, cut into a little bite-sized star shape. We're going to...
And I feel like it's important to call out that we're cutting it into stars.
Yes.
So that
there's still a kid component to it.
Yes, and you're getting crispiness, right? Because
Yes.
the inside of the smile and the sunken eyes, they do not crisp like they are supposed to.
Agreed.
You might need to like order some Zoo Pal plates to serve these on. Just saying.
Dude,
Would really take it all
actually-
to the next level. I'm just saying you
Yeah.
can put the chutney in the little ear cup holders.
Oh,
you know?
both chutneys?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh my God.
Wait, yes. And
I
then
bet
what?
you we have some. At
Bring
the office
Zoo
from,
Pals back.
Do you
like
want
a
me to-
K-12 photo
And we
shoot.
also have like little cafeteria trays. You want a glass of milk on there? And I
I want
Do
a
it.
carton. I want a carton of milk.
carton of milk, that's
Okay,
right,
it's
yes.
me. I want a carton of milk.
Okay, so star-shaped samosa fries.
Yeah, for the most part. And then
I feel like they need to just be called
star fries.
stars. No, I don't
Stars.
think they're fries. They're not fries. Stop.
Some-
We're not. They're not fries. They are fried.
Yeah,
But they're not.
Well, and also I
fries,
do
you
think that
know?
helps with the element of like consumers not necessarily associating them with fries and equaling unhealthy in their minds. Like we don't call them fries.
yeah.
Right. So they're just samosa stars.
Okay, I was thinking the same
Samosa
thing.
stars. That's kind of cute.
And then I'll have to kind of play around with it, but either doing like the potatoception where it's either coated in like kettle.
I do like the
cooked
potatoception
kettle
idea.
cooked potato chips or panko. I think either one will
Or a
work.
mix.
Yeah, or a mix. That's that too. We did that with the cheese curds, come to think of it. And then yeah, we have the two sauces that you would typically get, the herbaceous the herbaceous sauce that you would serve the samosa with, and the tamarind sauce as well, all served on a Zoo Pal plate. That's key.
I love it. I think we can do it. I think that they can be better. I think that we can make them better. I
Yeah.
just like
Well, they're globally inspired.
All of my
they're gonna be
friends
healthier. They're gonna be
almost got
Instagrammable.
a smile potato tattoo. They were like, let's do it. If we all get one, she'll get one too. And then
Yeah.
she'll have to have a tattoo of something she hates on her.
I feel like that's almost as dramatic as your excitement around this hot take.
it is.
This is highly anticipated.
It
I was
is. I like it. It's 15 years in the making.
Are we about to
you
not
know?
be friends
Like-
anymore?
like, no,
She's
no,
like, listen,
you know?
it's about the smiley face French fry.
Yes. I just thought of this too. It can also be we can also air fry these if we really
yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah.
It can either be both, but
Well, you can try both ways.
yeah, that's true.
All right.
Okay.
Should we wrap
Okay.
up?
I think we got it.
Yeah.
I think
So-
we got it. Wow.
But I look forward to seeing Chef Cam's samosa
Me
stars.
too.
And that's it for today. If you're liking the show, please take a second and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, we love comments, so drop them down below. And if you're listening on the podcast app of your choice, leave us a rating and a review. We're always hungry for feedback. Stay tuned for our next episode that releases 2 weeks from today. And until next time, no matter what the trends are, keep it delicious.
Keep it delicious.
Thanks, guys. Bye.